Welcome to EntreProgrammers Podcast, the podcast for developreneurs, where you get to be a fly on the wall listening to real conversations of developers trying to tackle the challenges they face as entrepreneurs.
Hey, John Sonmez here, and I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor for our podcast, SignalLeaf. Without SignalLeaf, we wouldn't have a place to host our podcast, and as you know, SignalLeaf is actually from one of our own here at EntreProgrammers. It is the creation of Derek Bailey. So Derek is actually the owner and creator of SignalLeaf, and it's a podcast hosting service. So if you are interested in creating your own podcast, go on over to signalleaf.com, sign up for an account today, and check out how easy it is to get started. The thing I really like about SignalLeaf is just how easy it makes it for hosting your podcast. Of course, I have my own podcast, Get Up and Code, that I host at SignalLeaf, and I've been very happy with it. We're hosting EntreProgrammers there as well. And so thank you again, SignalLeaf, for sponsoring this show. Don't forget to check out SignalLeaf at signalleaf.com if you're interested in starting your own podcast. We're on there. Hopefully there's no problems with this one because it's being recorded on the EntreProgrammers account, but
hopefully. We can always re-record on Friday, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally spaced it. I've been so focused on trying to redo my site for the last 24 hours that time is just flying by.
What if you just launched that thing, man?
It is launched. I live launched.
Okay.
I just started working on it live this morning. Nice. I was I was weighing it out. It's I've got backups. What's the worst that could really happen? Is people, if you go to my blog post, they'll still show up. We'll see some weird, wonky things, but.
Right.
So, okay, John. I was going to tell this story later, but I got to launch into it now because John just said, I've got backups. What's the worst thing that could happen? So, all right. So, little update on my my Dropbox strategy here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last night my wife comes into the living room. She's like, I got a coupon for a free calendar. I want to make a photo calendar for Christmas for our relatives, but the photos, the shared folder for photos in Dropbox is empty.
Uh-oh.
And
No.
I felt panic clutching at my heart. So she's like, is something wrong? I was like, oh no, and trying to keep my expression neutral, and I bolt downstairs, and I'm beside myself. The photos are all gone. They're I'm looking around. I go onto Dropbox's site. I look for the if you mass delete stuff, there's an event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can actually undo everything. I didn't know this is cool to know. So I was looking through all the history. It looked like there was no trace of them, all the way back to when I first switched to Dropbox instead of CrashPlan. So I'm like, what in the world? So I logged into CrashPlan, and of course I had canceled my account, so they deleted up there.
Oh, no.
Right? And so I was really beating myself up because I'd heard. So I talked to a coworker, Jason Famularo. He told me a story about a guy who did this exact thing. He was using Dropbox as a backup. He deleted them, didn't realize it. 60 days goes by. They have a 30-day retention policy, and then beyond that, they drop stuff.
You can pay for more than that.
Yeah, I know. I know that now. I'm paying for more than that now.
Yep.
So this guy, anyway, he lost they were able to recover some of his photos, but they lost a bunch. He lost a bunch of his family photos. I was able to find that I have a backup from almost 2 years ago. So I got all my from my kids when my kids were first born and everything, got all that stuff back. And then my wife has uploaded stuff a lot to a photo site, and they sell DVDs, so you can get a DVD of your photos. So I was like, okay, well, this isn't horrible, but I got a lot of it back. But I emailed CrashPlan. I was like, is there any way that you guys can restore this? And they were like, yes, we can.
Yay!
Yeah, so they're restoring my backup. So I think what happened is, I don't think actually that it was Dropbox's fault or that I did anything wrong. I think what happened, so the photos were in a shared folder on my Synology, so it's the network storage that I have.
Yeah.
And this shared folder is like, it's kind of weird. Like it's not, you can't actually browse to it as a physical folder on the Synology. It's like some kind of virtual folder. And when I went to Dropbox, I took all those folders and I combined them into one. So I think what happened was I told the Synology, okay, move the photos folder into Dropbox, and it failed. And it just deleted everything right there on the spot. Because with the Synology, like there's the move command is like immutable. It's like once it's done, it's deleted all the stuff that you. So I think the command failed and just wiped everything out. And I didn't notice right away because it took like 10 days to get everything uploaded to Dropbox.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting the stuff to be in the folder. So that was
my other thought on that is Amazon was having problems with one of their regions recently. I saw Mandrill actually tweeting about this, and I had problems with Signal-Leaf in the last week and a half. One of my customers on Signal-Leaf reported an episode that suddenly disappeared last week. I mean, it was just gone. It had been working, and then the file was just gone for no reason. There was no file, no folder for it, nothing. The file was just gone. And then he re-uploaded it, and everything was working for 3 or 4 days, and then the file got truncated. So it just, for no reason, it was only like 4 minutes long when it should have been an hour and 4 minutes long. There was all kinds of garbage going on that I had no clue about, and I saw Mandrill tweeting about it was either U.S. East or U.S. West, one of the regions that Amazon was having problems with, and when I read that tweet, I was like, oh, okay, that's the region that all of my Signal-Leaf stuff is in. That's probably why his files were disappearing. I wonder if that happened to anyone else.
Interesting.
So I need to go write a little script and check all the files to see if they're all there or if any of them are missing for anyone.
It was only my photos folder too.
Right.
Like I had moved a bunch of other folders that I would have cared less about if I'd lost them.
Yeah.
Of
course.
But yeah, of course. There was this one folder. But yeah, so I think it's going to be okay. I think the lesson for me, I'm definitely going to have a duplicate physical backup. So I'm going to have Scott Hanselman has his 3 backups thing that he does, like an off-site, on-site, and then he also does a physical off-site where he takes it to the bank and literally locks. He has 2 hard drives that he rotates in a safety deposit box. And I don't think I'm going to go to that extreme, but I think I am going to at least have a hard drive, a secondary hard drive that I copy stuff to like every quarter or something, just so I've got everything in multiple places.
So you've got it like incremental in time.
Yeah.
See, that's the one thing I don't have, but I don't know. Like.
So I will soon.
Oh yeah.
The Duracell guy.
You got your Duracell.
Yeah, he sent it to me. I've had it sitting in my office for 2 weeks now, and I just haven't had a chance to plug it in. But it's a couple of terabytes of storage, and then it'll do their cloud backup as well. So I need to get this thing plugged in and see how it really works. Cool. I still have my time machine, of course, which is my incremental backups.
Right.
But I definitely want to get this thing plugged in soon and see how well it works.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm a little bleary-eyed today because I was up till 11. Like I had an assignment, I had something due for like a copywriting assignment due last night too, and like I discovered this right as I was sitting down to work on it. I was like, okay, not getting any work done until I figure out what's going on here.
Right.
Yeah, I might end up doing a Glacier backup in addition. I don't know. Synology's kind of ticked me off lately though because they did this update to their software, and it totally destroyed my Dropbox sync.
Oh,
So
really?
I had to re-authenticate and resync everything. Now it all stayed on.
Which took 10 minutes for you, right? Because
Right.
No, it doesn't take 10 minutes. There's software, whatever it is. I mean, I've got a very fast internet connection, but the max upload that seems to go from that Synology box is 2 meg. So who knows?
Well, I got that update. I think I got that update too, so I'm going to need to check it now and make sure that...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you... I had to re-authenticate with Dropbox and resync it. It was just a pain.
At this point, I'm actually thinking about just getting rid of it and just doing like... I mean, my wife has a 500 gig hard drive on her laptop. I could just throw maybe get like a 1 terabyte hard drive, like an SSD, and throw my stuff on there, and then just not worry about, just have everything in Dropbox like that, not worry about any kind of network storage. It'd be a pain, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because if you rebuild your machine, you've got to download like 300 gigs worth of stuff.
For the Dropbox?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just went from the other route, from where I had it sitting on my machine in hard drives that were redundant, but to the NAS. The NAS is still better in my opinion, but...
That's where I want to get to. I have a hard drive, and I'm just doing it there, and then I have Backblaze that I run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a Western Digital couple of terabytes through. It's either 2 or 4 terabytes. It's a FireWire, so it's directly connected to my computer. But I put most of my offline or cold storage stuff over there that I don't need to access very often. Then my Time Machine is my primary backup for the machine itself. But I need to get that stuff on my FireWire drive backed up somewhere else, because that's all my raw episodes of Watch Me Code. And I don't ever anticipate needing to go back and edit those, but there's always a possibility.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that as long as you've got a network attached storage that is redundancy, like multiple drives that are striped, as well as a cloud storage, then you're like 90% of the way there. The only thing that's missing, like Josh discovered, is incremental.
Right.
Which, if you can, I mean, Glacier works fine for that. It's just like every so often.
I looked at Glacier. If you get Glacier working with your Synology, I would like to see how you do it. I didn't really try that hard, but it was like logging it. Amazon's like interface for it is not very user friendly. Like you log in, it's like, here's our API manual. It's like, like I'm now approaching this as a consumer. I don't want to learn how to program something to work with Glacier. I just want like a key or something that I can stick on my machine to make it work.
There's a Synology app that's supposed to work with Glacier.
Yeah, but you have to set it up through Amazon, and then.
Oh, and then
it's not like sign in with your Amazon account kind of thing. It's like there's some configuration, and I just hit Amazon site, and I was like, I don't have time for this right now. Yeah.
It's because it's not really a consumer app. It's more like
it's
actual physical tape backup.
Yeah.
It's like
I was like, okay, if this is what the setup experience is like, how am I ever going to get anything off of this if I need to? Like, I had no confidence that I'd be able to get my files back.
Yeah.
Well, what they do is, if you got to get your files back, then they have to get a surrogate. They have to remove the surrogate's head, put it in the vat of liquid, and then they have to restore the memories onto the surrogate's brain, and then the surrogate will type in your data.
In 1 and 0, in raw binary.
Exactly. That's totally legit, right there.
But yeah, John, your site looks great.
It really does. I'm looking at it right now, and I really like. I really like that you got rid of the sidebar. I like how the Simple Programmer logo is center above the menu as well. Yep. That looks really good.
And I like how the menu is centered.
Yeah.
Well, the ad does come up and then off-center the Simple Programmer logo.
That now.
But
sure.
But
how much do you make off of that? those
Oh, I
ads.
have ad block installed. That's why it's still saying.
About $150 a month.
How much?
150 a month.
Nice.
So I don't know. I mean, eventually I'll probably get rid of the ads, but $150 is kind of hard to just part with
Yeah.
for no effort. Like,
Right.
the other thing is, like, if you click on one of the articles, you'll notice that the sidebar is back then.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is fine because, like,
Yeah.
when you're at the home page, like, you're interested in the content, like, but when you get to in an article, like, especially if you've been linked to the article, I want you to have a little bit more, like, to see recent posts or things like that. The nice thing about this theme is they have a thing called sidebars, so you can make the sidebar actually context sensitive, so you can have different, like, for different situations. So, like, let's say that on my About Me page, I don't want to have, like, recent posts and archives or an ad. I want to have, like, a collection of Pluralsight videos or whatever it is. Like, I can do that, and you can also, on your product sales page or something like that, you could. So there's some pretty neat customization options there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
I think that archives is a little wonky. It's gonna get worse too. Like, it's just really long. It's like a lot. I can't imagine anyone actually going, what is that? I know that John published that post in May of 2012.
I've actually done that a couple of times, but in the 10 years that I've been blogging, I think I've done it maybe 3 or 4 times, but it's rare.
To your own site, you've done it?
Yeah, to my own site.
Yeah, okay. But I doubt anyone else is doing that.
I do it all the time. I Google, though. What I do is I just do site equals, simpleprogrammer.com, and I Google my own site for.
Oh yeah, I do that constantly. Derek Bailey, whatever the thing is I was talking about. But using that archive list, that calendar of 4 years worth of posts.
But yeah, I mean, there's other archive widgets that are more compact. Like, I just didn't like the styling of them, but I still have to decide exactly what is relevant to put in the sidebar, what's going to be the most effective thing. So there's still a lot of tweaking.
Right.
Most of the menu doesn't go anywhere, but I think I like the organization of the menu now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a lot more clear, and then each thing will kind of branch off from there. Videos, podcasts, products.
I would probably move the About to the far right, though.
Oh, to the far right.
Yeah, you want people to get to the most important thing first, which is going to be, your videos or your podcast or something. It's not going to be the About page.
Products.
Mm-hmm.
Or newsletter.
That's true. Yeah, products. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yeah, I'll probably do that. But yeah, this thing's been pretty good, pretty easy to set up and stuff.
I think that for a long time that site, the old site took seriously sometimes 10 or 20 seconds to load for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I actually think it was the denial of service thing that you were seeing, because I went yesterday. I was like, I was going to tell you how much better it was, much faster the new one loaded. And I was like, I hit the old site and I was like, boom, instant. It came up in 1 second. There was almost no discernible difference between the two.
That's kind of weird because, the denial of service thing was on the other server that I have, so it shouldn't have affected this one.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know, I was doing some tweaking. Now I feel like it's actually slower, but I had over 8,000 images in my WordPress database. Okay. Like, some plugin had duplicated a bunch of images a bunch of times and stuff, so I've actually been going through.
It's fine to delete all the images,
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Well, there's some plugins that delete unused images, and then they delete some of the featured images, which happened to me, but I'm going to bring those back. And it's worth it to get rid of 8,000 images to lose. If you got rid of 8,000 images, but you had to manually add 50, that's better than manually going through 8,000 images. Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of at. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm happy with this, but I still have a lot of work, and I think this is an overall improvement, a big improvement. even if I don't know about the speed right now. It seemed like it was a little bit slower, but it's still.
Newsletter, temp page.
Yeah, I like that.
I wanted to see your opt-in form. Okay.
The opt-in form's still there. Yeah, all those pages. Well, because the idea is, I got to ask you, Derek, how did you get newsletter archives on your site?
I built a plugin for it.
Oh, so you've got a plugin that works with MailChimp or Drip, or both?
Neither. The way I'm doing it is I'm using Drip's RSS to email. So my email archive plugin is a custom post type, which allows me to have the slash email archive URL, and it gives me a list of just like in the sidebar when you're in the admin menu, just like pages and posts. Mm-hmm. There's also email archive, and so I go in there and I write an email directly in the editor as an email archive entry, and then it shows up on that page. And I have a widget space so I can update the thing that shows up above it. So it's just a plugin that I built to be my email archive. But when I post something to that email archive, Drip's email RSS to email feature will see the new entry, and it will send that out to my mailing list.
That's so cool. So you're actually using your blog as a front end.
Yep.
Send email. That's really cool.
Yeah. So it works out well for me because previously with MailChimp, I was using the MailChimp editor and then copying and pasting into my email archive, and that sucked.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were still doing.
No. So this is actually it was just this morning actually where I did this for the first time. I wrote the email directly into the email archive, and then Drip's RSS to email feature emailed it to my list this morning.
I noticed that it hit my RSS feed before it hit my inbox, and that's why. So.
Yeah, the blog post or the archive post went up on the site at 5 a.m., and then the email went out at 7 a.m.
Okay. Do you want those showing up in your RSS feed?
Yeah, I did that on purpose because I need the Drip system to be able.
Oh, yeah. That makes
so my goal is I'm going to eventually build my own secondary RSS feed just for the email archive, and not have it integrated into the main RSS feed. And then I'll point Drip at that secondary RSS feed instead of the main one. I'll end up having two, really. I'll have a regular blog post, RSS to email, and then I'll have a newsletter archive RSS to email that will send out on different schedules and whatnot. I am automating the crap out of all this stuff. I want to write it in one place and be done with it.
Okay, I might be able to undo some of your work and give you something easier that will save you some work.
Okay.
If that's a worthwhile trade-off. So I'm pretty sure, I'm looking it up right now, but I'm pretty sure that by default out of the box, that WordPress will, the RSS feed, you can say what category you want.
Yes, but...
yeah, it does.
Right, I know that. And I looked at using that first, but I'm doing a custom post type for these emails. This isn't a regular blog post. So I need to add these custom posts into the RSS feed, but then my RSS feed includes them. I mean, I can't tell the RSS feed to exclude categories. I can only tell it to include categories.
Oh, well, wouldn't... Because I was going to say, do you need a custom post type? Can't you just have it be a category for email archive that's
I wanted it to be separate. I wanted to have a custom layout. I wanted to have a custom widget above it. I wanted it to be a separate folder on the site.
I see. Yep.
I wanted all of the email archive stuff to be focused around email and my newsletter. And so it's a very different thing than a regular blog post is.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. But
I did look at that originally, and I thought, oh, well, this will be easy, and then Turned out it wasn't quite what I wanted, so I built this plugin, and eventually I'll release this plugin as a thing that other people can download. But if anybody wants it, just email me and let me know, and I'll send this to you.
Okay, I might actually need that. We'll see. I've got to figure out a plan for my newsletter on my blog. So
yeah, the drip RSS to email is working pretty dang nice right now. They've got it set up so that it will create a draft broadcast email right now, and then I have to go in there and manually click send. But they're doing that right now because it's a brand new feature, and they just want to make sure everything works correctly. But it's worked great so far.
Cool.
So that was actually one of the bigger things that I had to talk about so far. It being a short week since we're doing this on Wednesday. Otherwise, I've been working on SignalLeaf again. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I built this horrendous authorization framework into SignalLeaf, and it was all hard-coded directly into it, and it had the beginnings of what was going to turn into a nice authorization framework, but I never went anywhere with it and built SignalLeaf on top of it, and it kind of got baked in and was kind of awful. And over the last couple of months, I've put time into it on its own as a separate project because I needed it elsewhere, and turned it into something fairly nice. So I'm trying to go back into SignalLeaf right now and rip out the previous version so I can put in the newer version that's properly unit tested and has better architecture and design and all that stuff. And in the process of doing that, I realized some of the limitations that I had were basically, I was assuming that you always had a user that was or was not authenticated, and that you were always dealing with Express.js routes. And some of those assumptions are not necessarily correct for the things that SignalLeaf needs to do. Like, as one of my business rules for authorization, I need to determine whether or not an account is authorized to serve podcasts to listeners. Right. Basically, the account has to be active. I mean, it's pretty simple code, If account.is active, then go do that code. But I want to have it written in my authorization framework so that it's a simple one-liner in the router instead of having to copy and paste this code into every single route handler. And so I've been working for the last week on making the code more robust, making it more configurable, or not more configurable yet, but making it more modular so that I've separated all of the Express.js route handling stuff from the rest of the configuration and the rest of the rules processing. I've updated the configuration so that it's all organized better in the configuration. And now I'm at the point where I need to go and put in the ability to have different security principles. Right now I have a user principal and a user identity, and I'm going to build a way to configure different identities and principles so you can have whatever identity and principle you need in order to manage the security for those things. So it's going to end up being a pretty dang robust authorization framework. It's already pretty powerful compared to most of the authorization frameworks out there. It's very configurable, mostly easy to use. The configuration API is getting slightly larger, but necessarily larger. It's not just a bunch of unnecessary junk. It's okay, here's how you map these rules to these HTTP requests. Here's how you configure the user. Here's how you configure permissions. So it all makes sense when you look at it, but it does take a little bit to get it up and running.
Sounds like it's bloated. Someone
totally. I should totally just start over. It's completely bloated with features and functionality and stuff that we'd actually use.
Yeah, rewrite it in .NET.
Yes, exactly. Actually, Tell you the truth, in .NET, this is mostly built in. I'm modeling this off a lot of what .NET has built into it. No joke. I mean, I took principle and identity straight out of the .NET framework because that's what I used to do.
Well, you have just shot your credibility of your framework right there, my friend.
I have.
No one in the Node community is going to touch it now.
Yeah,
That's
but
right,
everybody's going to
enterprise.
love it. This is going to be the most popular and most powerful authorization framework around, and people are going to love it. Because I did the same thing with Marionette, right? I took all these patterns and practices that I learned in the .NET world and put it into front-end JavaScript, and people loved it, and it was brilliant and easy, and so I'm taking these ideas and building them in Node.js and JavaScript using JavaScript idioms and patterns and practices. I'm not doing one-to-one just script conversion or anything like that. It's a ground up.
Just generate JavaScript from your C#.
Exactly.
I feel like what you're doing is
Right,
you're
transport.
you're feeding vegetarians like meat secretly, and then you're like, oh, do you like that? Does that taste good? Like, oh yeah, I love it. This is the best veggie burger I've ever had. Well, it's actually pork. Ha! You're eating .NET. Ha ha ha!
John has had a lot of good analogies since I've known him, but that might take the cake right there.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that's exactly what Ruby on Rails is doing these days. I mean, you look at Rails 6 or 7 years ago and how they kept laughing at Java and saying, oh, look at all these patterns and all of this framework and all this configuration, and now look at Rails. It's like, oh, you know what? These Java guys may have known something.
Hey, don't pick on my. Yeah, you're right.
Well, it's like when you need to actually when you need to actually solve real world problems, and you have bigger apps, and your apps start to age. You start to realize that some of this stuff isn't actually that crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for lightweight flexibility. That's why I still use Backbone, but man, without the patterns that I baked into Marionette, I wouldn't be able to build these large-scale Backbone apps. That's why people use Angular and Ember and Durandal and all that, because these patterns are necessary to maintain productivity in large applications.
That's the one place where I do start to agree with the people that say that software development needs to be more like engineering, or is engineering, because I've always kind of held said, okay, software development is not engineering. It's a totally different thing. But one problem that we have is all of our young kids go off and want to be free. They don't want frameworks. They just want to be free and make JavaScript, but then they discover that, oh crap,
10 years into their careers.
Right.
Yeah, so then they start building bulk into their new thing, right? I mean, because and that's what happens, right? It happened with Ruby, it happened with Node, and then we need a packet manager, and and then we need all these. So then and then it happens with IDEs too, where it's like, okay, well we got just a text pad, and then but now we need this whole environment. Like, what about? I mean, obviously, Derek, you did that presentation on it, but by the time you put together all those pieces of tools, you've kind of built your own IDE. Of course,
which is exactly what I was trying to do, was build my own IDE.
but you got to have an IDE, So it's just weird how we do. We do not learn from the past. We cannot just say that's how it is.
The other pet peeve I've had for a long time is I think a lot of this is fueled by sort of the consultant. A lot of these frameworks are developed by consultants or consulting projects, and so the goal is how can I get something up and running quickly, and then move on to the next project. Well, then I've always been the guy who has to come in and maintain that. It really sucks. And so. It's actually kind of happened, I think, again with Angular a little bit. Like, they basically, Angular 2.0, from what I understand, the API is changing a lot. And, people are going ballistic because now they have all these legacy apps that are, a year old that they're never going to be able to upgrade. They'd have to do a complete rewrite.
Welcome to the
I don't think that's
real
going to be
world.
the case. I really don't. I've been talking to the Angular core team, but
I think they're gonna find a way to transition it over, or
I think they'll have a clear migration path that isn't
That would be good.
horribly
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that, that they would do anything different. I mean, there are a lot of people out there using it. Google uses it a lot internally, so I think they're gonna have to.
And if they don't, oh well. Welcome to the real world of software development. You don't always get to go back and update that thing that's a year old to whatever the latest and greatest shiny toy is.
Yeah, sometimes you're on VB6 for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You gotta deal with it.
Oh my gosh.
You made a
You're giving me
VB6 choice, you stick with a VB6 choice. It's like having a child out of wedlock. Like it's just there. You can't get rid of it now.
Oh man. I had dozens of little one-page apps that I had to maintain at my last job, and it was it was such a nightmare.
Yeah.
I've never even learned like ASP. I learned ASP.NET, and I was like maintaining these. Yeah, not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been my week. Just more of that stuff. More code, which I'm happy about. Glad to be doing things on Signal Leaf again. Oh, the other great thing on Signal Leaf front is I put up the drip pop-up on the Signal Leaf blog, and
Awesome.
I've got people signing up for the podcast cheat sheet through that, and I'm getting like 4 or 5 a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's
And
really
that's
good.
5.
That's wait. And that's the little one on the side, not
the bottom
The
corner.
bottom.
It pops up on the bottom right of the screen. It
Yeah.
says,
Wow.
it says something about need help getting started, and
That's-
then it basic text here. Sign up here to
Yeah.
get the cheat sheet. And I'm getting like 4 or 5 a day for the last 4 or 5 days that I've had it up and running.
Wow, that's yeah, because I've played with that before, and I didn't have a really good offer, but I've never seen it convert anywhere near even like 1%.
It's at 0.9% right now.
Okay, all right. Well, Rob Walling says on HitTail, his app for SEO, like that thing he says converts. I swear I heard him say it converts to like 10 or 15%,
Wow.
which is insane.
Yeah, my DerekBailey.com only converts at like 0.5%.
Yeah.
You might want to fix it though. I just noticed it this morning
What?
because I was uploading an episode of Get Up and Code, and I'm uploading my episode, and I see this little orange box.
Oh,
It's
is
like, hey buddy, you want to start a podcast?
Is it showing up?
You want to start a podcast? And then I was about to click on it to see what happens, but I didn't need to click on it because it popped itself up and it said, "Do you want to start a podcast?"
Oh, it's.
Do you want to start a podcast?
Oh
It
god.
doesn't have to be today. I blocked it from the. It should show up on the home page of the main Signal Leaf site, but it shouldn't show up once you're logged in and looking at the podcast in general.
I think maybe it's
I'm-
on the homepage when I'm logged in. No.
Yeah,
I'm on the profile page, and it just said, "Hey, buddy, do you want to start a podcast?"
Oh, the profile page.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to start a podcast?
Yeah, I'll have to. Okay, I'll have to update the exclusion to include the profile and account page. But if you're in the podcasts, it doesn't show up in podcasts.
Let me see. I don't know.
I'll go update
John,
that.
you should totally say that with your creepy voice.
Yes.
Hey, you want to start a podcast?
Hey, want to start a podcast?
Now people listening are like, those guys need to just grow up.
We definitely need to record more Wednesday episodes.
Yes.
Great.
We'll call it
Before-
Wasted
it might be the
Wednesdays.
holidays.
Yeah.
Before we're all despondent and beaten down by Friday.
Right. All right, let me update this so that it won't show up on the account or profile page.
Yeah, make it quit nagging John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez.
It's creeping
But I've
me
got-
out.
I've got-
I'm uploading my episode, and it's like I'm like
It shouldn't be on the
different
upload page.
podcast.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of weird because it's like I'm uploading episode for my podcast, and then it's like asking if I want to start. So it's
I
kind of like,
I don't think it's showing up on that
or
page for
like
you
on
though.
like I'm emailing my wife, and then like a Match.com pops up. It's like, hey, you want to do blank?
Oh my gosh.
Hey, you're gonna have to send me a screenshot of it showing up on the podcast upload page because I've already got that page blocked.
Doesn't
Okay.
believe it.
On the podcast upload page?
Yes.
Oh no, it doesn't show up there. I don't think it was just on the
Okay.
the profile page and stuff. So
Right.
Okay.
All right. So let me.
Yeah, I have one. Mine shows up. I haven't bothered to fix this yet. My pop-up shows up on the King Sumo opt-in page, which
Right.
is less than optimal because if you use that pop-up instead, you don't get the coupon code.
Right. All right. There we go. Now it won't show up on the profile or account page.
all right,
Done.
should make like
I like how we debug our website.
Yes.
live. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Live on the air. Watch me. Listen to me code.
Yeah, Derek's going to disappear into fix-it land.
No, it's done. I am done with that change. All right, so it's done really well. I've got 35 people signed up for the cheat sheet. I've got 11 people on the 7-day course that we built.
Nice.
I haven't done a ton of advertising of that 7-day course yet.
Hmm.
One thing that I talked to Drip about a long time ago was having the ability to just randomly choose which pop-up to use, because if you enable more than one pop-up, they will all show up.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's,
I found that out the hard way.
they're stacked on top of each other. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
I
it needs
talked
to
to
be
them about that quite a while back, and they were talking about a way to change that, but I don't know if they ever did. I need to ask them again.
Yeah.
Because I would love to be able to advertise more than one email
Rotate
course
through.
and just have it show a random one or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or maybe like have it so that it keyed off some kind of WordPress tag or something, so you could say like, you know, beginner, like you could tag
Right.
something with a difficulty level or something and have it key off of that.
Yeah, do something. I don't know what the right answer would be, but so right now I'm only really advertising the cheat sheet through
Right.
that little pop-up. I do have on the Signal Leaf blog, I have the How to Podcast link in the top menu, and that takes you to the 7-day email course sign-up page. So hopefully, as I get more traffic on that blog, I'll keep getting people signing up for it, and hopefully it'll turn into some actual conversions. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I
think we need to get a few dozen people through it.
Yeah, we do.
And see, you know.
I need to go
what
through
happens.
and see if there's any more language to tweak and change and whatnot. I'm sure there's things that I could improve.
It really should have a high conversion rate, though, because if people
Right.
sign up for this, especially the how to launch a podcast,
Right.
like you're probably interested in launching a podcast. And I know if I go through a 7-day email course and someone just told me how to launch a podcast, what do I have any loyalty to hosting? No, I'm gonna use that one because that was the person who helped me. I would imagine, but
Yeah.
that's,
Or use what they said to use because
Yeah.
you don't, you know,
Yeah.
you have some frame of reference there.
Yep. So that's the hope. I'll start seeing whether or not it's working by next week sometime.
cool, awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I think now that we have it in place, like once we see how it converts, I think we can kind of go back through it and start to I think it would be appropriate to start to seed some content about Signal Leaf earlier and earlier, so that they get exposure to it sooner before they get to that last
Right.
like pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's easier to do once you've got the framework in place.
Right. All that good stuff.
Awesome.
So I was thinking about something as I was preparing my launch because I'm doing a 4th of July, not a 4th of July.
Man, you are planning early.
4th of July at Christmas.
I'm doing the Cyber Monday sale, and I was like, well, how do you launch this thing? You know, it's essentially like a mini launch, and so I'm just going to do 4 emails. I'm going to do 1 email on Friday, you know, announcing it, 1 on Monday saying it's here now. And then I was going to let it go until Tuesday, and then 1 on Tuesday morning saying, okay, this is the last day, and then 1 Tuesday evening saying, okay, this is it. It's really closing now. And I was thinking about that as I was going through that, and like we had the discussion about possibly doing some kind of a launch course, and there's a lot of thought that, well, we haven't really done a lot. But one thing I was thinking about is that, do you know how much stuff, like, I don't know, yes, we haven't launched like 50 products, but there's a lot of. I remember I was just thinking back on doing the How to Market Yourself launch, and I was like, wow, I know so much more now, like, about how to conduct a launch and how to do, because it's more than just, it's like if you wanted to create some kind of an online product, like, how do you get a website up? How do you, like, accept payments? How do you, like, download or store the video content? You know, how do you set up email to, you know, to send it out? Like, there's a lot of stuff I think that we might take for granted that we actually know about, that a lot of people would be extremely stumped.
That's a good point. And
yeah, I think you're right.
If we were going to take the full stack approach of, you know, how to launch your first product, your first digital product, and take it from, you know, website, payment system, shopping cart, you know, all of that, all the way out to launch sequence and emails and metrics to collect, and, you know, how to tweak things. I mean, this could end up being a nice big giant 8-hour course, like your How to Market Yourself thing.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing, this is going to sound really meta, but one thing that, so let me back up. Pat Flynn does something where he essentially launches a new website and, like, publicizes all the things that he has to do it.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if we could launch the product, and the product is us going through the launch.
That would be pretty awesome.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
It's kind of circular, but at the same time, you know, it's, hey, look, you know, we're gonna show you what we did to launch the product and all of the mistakes we made along the way.
Yeah.
And, you know, just put that out there and make it available for like a year, and then do another launch of something else. You know, and so then we can come back around to it in a few years and say, oh, here's what we're learning now.
Right.
Derek and John have heard the story already, but there's a site that I like called ittybiz.com.
Yeah.
And they wrote they were in the process of writing an ebook. It was a really good book. I read it right before I launched my Sublime ebook, and it was an ebook about writing an ebook, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they were getting ready to sell it, and they were like, we need an upsell. And so the guy was like, why don't we do an upsell about upsells? And so they did. So it's like
nice.
Ebook about ebooks and upsell about upsells.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of knowledge that, like, just when I was thinking, I was like, if I had to launch a product like today, this week, I could totally, like, from zero to you know, to having it out, I know exactly what to do now. And I just contrasted that with, you know, would I do it perfectly? No, not perfect. I still have plenty for improvement, but I am confident I know how to launch a product because I've done it several times now.
Right.
And so, like, I know I could tell someone, hey, you know, and I just contrasted with my, like, when I first was trying to launch a product, and I was like, I had no idea how to do any of this stuff. I was like, I don't even know how to, like, how am I even going to serve the media, and how am I even going to, how do you take payments online? Like, all those things I had no idea. So I think there's definitely some.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, I like the idea. I just honestly don't have time.
Yeah, me too.
That's the real problem.
I think, I think it would be a great product, and we could definitely. I think
we could put up a landing page with email capture on it, and then when we do get time, then we can start doing the launch formula on it. I don't know.
It's true. We could even take prepayments, right, guys?
Yes, totally. I mean, that would be part of it, right? Because we're talking about launching a product, and you, as much as possible, you want to take prepayments for things like that. I mean, we could.
Yeah.
I mean, we did the 24-hour challenge to try and build a product last December or whenever it was, and we took prepayments for that. And I mean, we could do something similar where, you know, maybe not a 24-hour challenge again, because I think my wife might divorce me if we do that again. but we could do something similar where.
Well, you should do that while you're doing paleo.
Yes, totally. Exactly. I'll be pissed off, angry, depressed, and spending 24 hours doing a launch. That'd be awesome. But I think it is a really good idea. I mean, we could take advantage of John and I and Mac's ability to do screencasts and Josh's epic writing ability. I mean, we could do screencasts of each of the steps along the way and get it all written up nicely and Josh's launch sequence emails. And I mean, this would be a really amazing product on, literally watching us build and launch the product that they're buying.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot of, and like you said, splitting the work would make this a lot easier.
Right. I mean, it would start with the basics of getting a website up and running, and then go from there. Go into, if we did like WordPress, I could go through all of the tools that I use to sell stuff through WordPress, and John could set up the VPS and the WordPress instance, and to show people how to actually record and edit things for digital products, digital media products, and I mean there's a lot of ways to split all this stuff up between all of the talents that we have.
One thing I felt while I was working on my books, and I've also heard from some people that have signed up to my mailing list, is that a lot of the how to do your own product material out there is very focused on marketing.
Yeah.
It's like 30 by 500 is kind of that. Well, when I took it, it was a little bit that way. It was like, here's how to come up with your product idea,
right?
Develop the marketing materials out of it, and then launch it. But there was kind of, there's not a lot out there. Like it's just kind of hand wavy. Like people are like, and then you build your product.
Yeah, build it. Have fun with that.
Consultant.
Yeah. We're the EntreProgrammers, man. We are the developers launching products. Yes.
Yeah. See, there's something nice about, obviously, leveraging is good, but if you don't have any budget, if you don't have a business already that's making money and you wanted to build something, you got to do it all yourself, or you got to outlay a large amount of cash. And sometimes it's just as hard to learn how to hire people if you're.
Yeah.
So
you don't even know what you're hiring for.
Right.
Yeah. And plus, I mean, you should really go through a thing manually once yourself. So, that's I think there is a gap where if you can show someone exactly how do you build and there's so many skills we take for granted, right? Like, I mean, just using an audio editing program or video editing program, right? That's a skill. Recording with screencasting, using video cameras to do recording, the microphone and audio technology, even just the simple basics of it, like standing up websites, all of these type of things that if you can show someone step by step how do you do this kind of thing, that I think there's a big value in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But that's so just something to think about. And in general, I was just thinking about the fact that often you have so many skills that you don't realize that you have because they seem so easy and basic to you, but you forget that when you're on the other side, looking in, you're like, wow, I have no idea how to do this thing, even though it seems easy now.
Agreed. Even I was thinking while you were talking too about even a way to get our feet wet on that would be how to do a sale. Like you were just talking about,
right.
How do we when we do a Cyber Monday sale, what does that look like?
Right.
And just show that.
So speaking of Cyber Monday sales, total tangent here off of that. One thing I was thinking about for doing a Cyber Monday sale is I was contemplating the idea of doing a $250 lifetime access to Watch Me Code. What do you guys think of that?
Okay, so let me get
besides it being absurdly cheap?
3
minutes. Is it absurdly cheap?
A 3-month commitment. Buy 3 months now is too much. It's too much commitment. But lifetime.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I see the problem there, and I am actively reconsidering the 3-month or 1 year as well, but I'm trying to think of something to do for a Cyber Monday sale, and I can either try to get my MongoDB, Mongoose.js package put together for a Cyber Monday sale, which I might end up doing that instead, or just, the random thought, okay, what if I could sell, 500 copies of $250 lifetime access in a day or something. I mean, I seriously doubt I would get that many, but at $250, I wouldn't need that many sales to bring in $10,000 or $20,000. You know?
Do you know what the lifetime value is of your customer?
I don't. It's kind of awful that I don't. The system I use doesn't have that built into the reports. I am using Stripe, so I need to get Barometrics hooked up to that Stripe account. I just haven't taken the time to do it because that would, like a year ago, not quite a year ago, 6 months ago, it was sitting around $65, but I don't know. It's probably gone up since then, but I don't know for sure. I need to get Barometrics hooked up to that one. I've got Barometrics on my SignalLeaf account, but it requires a separate account for a separate Stripe account.
That doesn't seem too cheap to me.
I'm kind of on the fence. But anyway, keep going.
My main concern is just what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know, for you and for them.
Right.
It might not be that effective of an offer if it's not really.
Right. That's part of the problem is like, what would that mean? I mean, for the person that made the purchase, it means they would never have to buy anything from Watch Me Code again. They would always have access to everything.
Right. But part of the deal with that, like the way you're pitching it now, right, is like weekly updates.
Right.
So lifetime access implies a lifetime of weekly updates.
Well, it would be for the lifetime of the service, essentially.
Yeah, if you have to explain it, it's not a good deal.
Well, and if you get hit by a bus like a week after I buy it, then what?
Well, then everyone's screwed because nobody's going to get anything else.
Yeah, but then I can just cancel my subscription.
Right.
I also wonder, though, I mean, how much are you charging per month? Is it $5 or $10?
My base rate is 14.
14?
And then my discount rate for various sponsorships is usually $9 a month.
Yeah, so if it's $14 a month, $250 is... I can math.
I can't. Let me use a calculator. 17.857 months. So roughly 18 months.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
So, I mean, where are you going to be in 18 months? What if this, goes bananas and then you have a whole bunch of people that,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of ifs. The other thing is that, if I'm paying for lifetime whatever, I'm generally expecting to pay, a little bit more than 1.5 times the yearly value of whatever it is that I'm paying for.
Okay.
But I don't know if people would pay that for it.
Yeah, that's the other question.
So that's why I'm kind of on the fence about it, is that I feel like the number is really low, but at the same time, I don't know if you can get people to...
Yeah, it's...
Well, let's go with the pros. Disney World, lifetime pass. Right. I have an idea of this already, but if you buy the golden ticket to Disney World, I believe, let me see what the price is.
Like $5,000 or something.
It's a very high price, I know. That is like reflective of like so I mean the idea behind it is that the reason why they do that is they make it so that if you really just would love to spend money, like it's that whole like 80-20 curve deal.
Power curve.
It's like it gives you on the high end of the power curve. So I don't know if I'd do it unless I was going to do it on the high end of the power curve.
And I'm sure Disney World would give you all kinds of perks to go with that. Give us $10,000 and we'll give you instant access to any ride and all these great, free food from our one-on-one chefs, and they probably do crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. So what if you did instead of packaging up the service for a one-time fee, what if you could? Are there some bonuses you could include?
That's a good question. And right now, I'm still.
I like that approach much better.
Yeah, because we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with putting together webinars and other bonuses like that. And I'm still trying to find time to just package up all of the series that I have. Because I want to get my MongoDB, Mongoose.js package done. I've got my tooling package for Node.js. I've got my Browserify series. I've got the fundamentals series, which I used to sell as a package, and I need to do again. I mean, I've got 5 or 6 different screencast packages that I could sell together, sell as packages to people that don't want a subscription, but that would only be for people that don't want a subscription.
Right. Do you have any what related do you have any related content that you could share for free, like your books?
Yeah, my books. I mean, I've got the one ebook, Mastering JavaScript This, that goes along with.
What if you offered a live webinar to be held at a future date?
Yeah.
The other possibility, it's a little late for this now, but to go in and offer someone else's stuff, pieces of someone else's stuff for free, because then they would probably give you stuff to give away for free if you're giving them a piece of a bigger thing that they have.
Explain that more. I'm not quite following you.
So let's say that I don't know. I'm trying to think of a related course, I'll just use
you might have some stuff
like my course. Like let's say that you're giving away 1 or 2 of the books from my How to Market Yourself course.
Okay.
And maybe you could get other people to do it, but that would make sense for you because you could offer totally free, valuable content. But then the person whoever you ask to do this it would make sense for them because they're essentially advertising their course, the bigger package, by giving away a piece of it. So you might try some.
What's the setup on my end look like?
On your end,
am I giving this stuff away, or am I including this as a for sale package?
You're including it. You're giving it away as a bonus when they buy, right? So you buy whatever, and as part of that, for the special deal, you get this extra thing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I get you.
Redirect all the traffic to a download page or something for that one day.
Right.
Days.
My other thought was a grab bag of videos. It's like this video is interesting. It's on JavaScript, and this is a video of my kids playing soccer in the park.
Sorry. Nice.
Or I could give you
here's a video of some trash swirling in the wind over in the corner.
It's a grab bag. So
I'll give you all of my family photos.
Yes.
Yeah. But you could do some kind of joint venture thing too, where it's you get I've worked things out so people who sign up on this deal get a free month of Ruby Tapas or a free month of this or something like that.
Right, and I just did the Ruby Tapas thing, which worked out exceedingly well.
Yeah, it depends on effort too and coordination. Like I don't know, for my sale, I'm just gonna do $100 off, which is 33% discount, which is.
Derek, if you raise your price to $114, you could do the same thing.
I could. Yeah. $114 a month base price. You'll get $100 off with this discount code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably pull something together. I would say just like, try to grab Avdi or something and see if he's willing to throw in.
The dude is incredibly busy. It literally took 3 months to get the one pager done for the email list swap. Just because he's so incredibly busy all the time.
Just tell him that you already sent the email.
Like, look, Opti, you're doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, the easiest thing would be at this point, right? You don't have a lot of time. Is to just do a discount. Either do a discount or offer some months free, like some amount of you sign up now, you're going to get the first 3 months free or something like that, or the last 3 months free if you want to be like that. But
or if you're looking at the 250 for forever, maybe you could just go, maybe it's $80 or $90 for a year.
Right.
And so you deeply discount your first year or something for a year subscription.
And if you were to do it that way, the way I would market that is I would say, when you sign up for a year at this sale, you will get 3 months free.
Yeah.
Right.
Or whatever that works out to be.
Yeah, completely agree there.
Yep. Yeah, that would apply to people that would be valuable to people that are not already getting a discount and people that are not yet signed up, which the majority of the people on my list have had the opportunity multiple times to sign up. I don't know. Clearly, out of 4,000 people, I don't have a high percentage of subscribers, since I only have 350 subscribers.
But anytime you do a sale, you discount something and you put a time sensitive, then you're going to have a higher conversion rate. So you should definitely pull people out. I mean, like for example, when I did my 4th of July sale, I thought, okay, well, I mean, if you're on my list, you've already seen this, like you've already, but I ended up doing like 10 grand worth of sales during that weekend. So, I mean,
Yeah, it's a great excuse to do a sale because like you kind of need an excuse to do a sale. You shouldn't just do one. And it's a great excuse. Everybody kind of expects it. Everybody's kind of in a spending mood. So it's always worked out well for me, and I'm curious. I'm hopeful this year will be a good year too. So I've got mine set up pretty similar to John. I'm only doing 3 emails though. I'm doing one on Monday, and then which is kind of like a overview. So Wes and I are combining our products into what I'm calling the ultimate Sublime Text book and screencast package or something like that. And it's like I'm advertising it at 60% off because all of our stuff is $109 retail, and we're going to sell this for like $44.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty nice discount. It's going to be 2 days, so I'll hit them with the email on Monday morning, another email on Tuesday morning, and then another at like 8 p.m. Tuesday.
You should send a Friday one out as well, though, just to announce that you're going to be doing this on Monday.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, but I should do that. I should do that on Twitter as well.
Yeah, this way you can build a little bit of anticipation, and then if someone is not going to be at work or at their desk or checking email because Monday they're running around shopping at stores, then they'll know to look for the email. So
yeah, yep. And I'm going to do the same thing on Twitter. I've got like 6 tweets that'll go out. So we're gonna, since this is Wes and I are splitting this one 50-50, since I'm including my stuff too. I'm totally shooting myself in the foot as far as selling my book later to this list, but I think this could get us a really nice windfall, and so I think it'll be worth it.
Oh, by the way, Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, I just hit 10K today.
Nice.
A nice milestone.
Are you still doing the follow thing?
Yep, I'm still doing it every day, pretty religiously, and it's actually, so that combined with like having around 10K Twitter followers combined with using that Edgar program to like recycle my content is actually working out pretty well for me. I've seen an uptick in sales on the dev groupers. Of course, the site is up now continuously, but also I'm noticing a lot of stuff getting retweeted and like old blog posts, articles. Yeah. I'm getting traffic from that, so it's a pretty good combination. I think I'm really liking that Edgar. I'm going to switch to that permanently.
When I haven't done this for a couple months, but when I was bulk scheduling tweets of my old blog posts for the Sublime on my Sublime account, I had about 13,000 followers, and I think I was getting like around 8,000 page views a month off of that traffic.
Yeah.
Retweeting my own blog. Yeah, it was a lot. Once you get up there, it starts to actually make a difference.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, there's like what I've been finding with the social media is that there's like this tipping point there where if you have enough followers, then the chance of something getting retweeted down the hill is much higher. So like if you have 1,000 or 2,000 followers, if you tweet something out, it's almost worthless. Like you're not going to see. I mean, a couple people will click it, maybe someone will retweet it. But if you have like a certain enough of a mass, then it carries on a lot further down the stream.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I've also found that I can follow, like, I just started doing this, so we'll see what happens. But I started following like 300 to 400 people a day,
Okay.
And I haven't had any ill effects. So I think that the amount of people you can follow is based on how many people you have following you. Like, how many per day even?
Yeah,
Not
so
just your capped amount, but
Twitter has unpublished ratios and numbers where if you do not have a certain number of followers, then you are limited to 2,000 follows.
yeah.
But once you're past that ratio, they get rid of the cap, and you can follow as many people as you want.
Except you can't so many in a day, otherwise they start
Well,
to,
so many, within a period of time, because they think
Yeah.
you're using an automated system, and they'll start blocking you for using, tools that you're not supposed to use.
Yeah. So I'm gonna kind of creep it up until I get some kind of warning, but I'm gonna try and hit around 400 a day at this point.
The warning will come as a...
Your account's been banned.
Yeah.
Someone will email you and say, John, there are no tweets in your timeline.
Right.
What happened?
John, why is your account closed?
Yeah. Yep. We'll see. I don't know. It's somewhat worth the risk, but it's not like it's totally automated. So.
You tell yourself that.
Okay. All right. You can see my story. I don't care.
You
what
really
guys
don't
think.
need backups for your software and your pictures and stuff, John. It's...
Whatever happens. I don't care. I'm stoic.
Right.
I'll just deal with it, and it'll make me stronger.
Yes.
Chuck, speaking of things that'll make you stronger, how are your registrations?
Yeah.
I've had a few since we talked on Friday.
That's good.
I think I had 4 or 5. I'm getting the floating heads of the speakers.
Right.
What you call them, profile pictures up.
Nice.
This week. And then I've actually been reaching out to several people who have podcasts or mailing lists or whatever for people who use JavaScript, and they're all excited to promote it. And so I've told them all to hold off until I get those images up, because most of the people who are using the contact form are asking me who's speaking.
Right.
And so I'm telling them the CFP is still open, but I do have people lined up, and so I need to get that up so at least they go, oh, okay, I want to see them speak.
Yep.
So once I have that up and I have everything else together, then it'll go out on 5 minutes of JavaScript and Node Up and a bunch of other podcasts. Peter Cooper's going to announce it on JS Weekly.
Nice.
Oh man,
So
fine.
I reached out to all my friends and I just said, hey, I'm working on this. I would really like your help.
Right.
And so it worked out really nicely. I also I've actually made some contacts off of this too, which is really cool. And so I met. I'm gonna sound dumb because I don't remember his name. Cal. Somebody.
Ripken?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
That's the
he's
only
an
Cal I know.
amazing
That
baseball
is-
player. He's like 85 years old and he's doing programming.
Cal
now.
Evans, who does Nomad JavaScript and Nomad PHP.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I talked to him for like an hour
Nice.
because he's just a cool guy. And so they're going to mention it at the next Nomad JS and the one after that in January.
Nice.
And then he put me in touch with Jordan Casper, who's the guy that actually runs Nomad JavaScript. And so that's a lot of fun. And I asked him why they didn't have a Nomad Ruby, and it turns out that they used to. So I'm
They all
talking.
went to Node.js, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know exactly what the issue there was, but it sounded like he was interested in starting it up if he could find the right person. So I'm either going to help him find the right person, or I'm toying with the idea of being the right person if most of the commitment is lining somebody up to talk and then being there to host it.
Right.
If there's much more to it than that, I just don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Then I can bring in people from the Ruby community. So, but yeah, it's been really cool, and most people are pretty open, pretty excited to help spread the word. The trick I'm running into at this point is, I didn't get all of the speakers I wanted, either because they had prior commitments or I had 1 or 2 people actually object to doing an online talk.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Because it's destroying their livelihood, right?
I don't do online talks, and basically, I guess what they like is they like to be up in front of people where they can see them and hear them, making happy noises and stuff like that.
Right? I mean, there's still a pretty serious contingent of people that that are pretty certain that the internet is not going to succeed this internet thing. So
yeah, I mean, I've got 640K of memory in my computer. I don't need more than that.
Yeah. Let it play out, and we'll see what happens. We'll see who's right. But,
right.
But anyway, so I've got four talks lined up right now. I've got somebody else that I've been following up with, and hopefully I can get the commitment from him. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to make it sound like he's going to speak if he's not going to speak.
Right.
But and so anyway, things are looking pretty good there, and so we'll see how it goes. I think if I can pull off a success on the conference this year, then I can turn around and I can do another one.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, and I'll have more people willing to take a chance on it.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
And the other thing is I did get some feedback that $50 was way too cheap, and that I should either go for free or go for like $200 a ticket. But
I don't agree with that.
But my thing is I really just want it. I want it available to whoever wants to come. Mm-hmm. And that's the main point, and that's why I went with $50 because I feel like $50 is just enough for people to pay, and then not blow it off.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's the whole self-selecting thing. You get people that are serious about being there. You're not going to end up with 10,000 people subscribing and 200 people showing up.
Right.
You'll have 600, 800, 2,000 people subscribing and 1,800 people showing up. Not everyone's going to show up.
Yeah.
But you create a much higher likelihood. Like when I've helped run the Los Techies Pablo's Fiesta in the past, we've purposely kept ticket prices at like $15, and that was just to pay for the bare minimums of lunch for the day. It didn't really cover anything else. We got sponsors to pay for everything else, including the space that we were using. And it was great because we would get like 250 people that were willing to pay the $15 and show up to Austin for a weekend, and 250 people would show up. There was a pretty high ratio of people that paid to pay people that turned up. It's the self-selecting rack the shotgun thing of get people to prove that they are willing to do it and not just saying they'll do it because it's free.
One thing you could do next year is the tiered thing. So you've got a $30 level, you've got a $75 level, and a $150 level, and $150 level you get like some kind of private, small chat room, one-on-one experience with one of the presenters. Maybe for the low-end package, you only get the recordings after the fact.
Right. So there was Podcast Movement did their registration the first year. Well, not entirely, but initially when they announced the conference, their registration mechanism was Kickstarter, and that's effectively what they did. And so they had you could pay $10 and get a T-shirt, or you could pay $100 and get a conference ticket, or you could pay I think it was a few $100s and get you got to go to the supporters dinner with all the keynote speakers. And you got into a few more events around the conference and things like that. And so, I kind of like that approach. Definitely.
It'd be interesting to Oh, sorry.
I'm just saying. I'm really, it makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
I was thinking it also might be interesting to offer. I mean, maybe it's a little late now, but to offer something like if you get in on the first year, you'll have like special discount pricing forever. To go with Derek's thing,
like a founder membership kind of thing, or
because it kind of puts the impetus on why did I sign up for an app.net account?
Yeah,
because it's like, well, if you get in now and get your name on app.net before it just blows up, it did blow up
before it imploded more.
but but I remember, I was a little bit like probably drunk and high and like sleep deprived, but part of the decision, probably besides all that, had something to do with just this, getting in at the ground floor. And,
who does this pretty well is Lead Pages. They routinely roll out new features where they say, buy it now. If you upgrade now, you will get lifetime access to this new feature. And they basically just like raise the price.
Yeah.
When a new feature comes out.
They're doing that right now. They've got this deal going on where you can buy access for 2 years. You'll get it cheaper on a monthly basis, but you got to pay up front for 2 years worth of their service. And I was actually that close, like just almost ready to click the buy button because I still use their lead boxes.
Yeah.
I like the lead boxes. That's all of my sign-up forms, except for the little drip pop-up. All of my sign-up forms on my sites are through lead boxes now. I really like them. They work.
Yep. Yeah, I have a Lead Pages account. I like their stuff.
Chuck, do you want to talk about your little emergency this week at all, or I'd like to hear as much as you're willing to share about it.
Yeah, I mean, don't feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, basically what it boiled down to was we had some things come up, basically cars break down, things like that,
Right.
And I had this much buffer,
Right.
and then I had this much buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I've been there.
and so I kind of panicked a little bit. Everything's working out. It always does. But it was funny too because do you ever feel like the universe is telling you something?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm just the only weirdo. I guess Derek's a weirdo too. But,
yeah, on a regular basis, the universe tells me to stop doing things a lot.
Yeah. So for me, it was okay. So we don't have any more buffer. So what do I do now? And so I reached out to a few friends and tweeted and stuff and said, hey, look, I'm I need income today. And and so I had a few people reach out, but I just got this feeling like wait for it. Right. And there's a listener to the Freelancer show that he reached out to me and said, hey, I'd like to come on some of your shows, and I didn't know who he was or what he was doing. I was like, yeah, well, I'd like to see what you're up to, before I just come on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, and it turns out that he lives up here in Sandy, Utah. And so, I was like, yeah, let's just go to lunch and we could talk, because I love meeting new people, so that's never an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we kept trying to find a time that we could do it, and we just couldn't find anything that matched. So he's like, well, why don't you bring your family over for dinner? And so we go up to Sandy. I mean, I didn't know who this guy was. I'd never been to his house, So we go up there on Monday, and and so he sits me down and shows me all of the stuff that he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just, I walked out of there going, because, I was like, well, what if I totally steal your model? He has a series of YouTube videos, and he was showing what he was doing there. And I'm like, well, what if I steal your model, because he does tutorials on, like, Ruby, PHP, a bunch of other ones. You can go look it up. I'm sure you can figure out who it is. But, anyway, so I was like, what if I did one on Rails? He's like, if you did it on Rails, he's like, I get people asking for that all the time. And so I would just send them to you.
Nice.
And stuff like that. And so I'm seeing this opportunity to build up so backing up a little bit, I've talked about Rails clips, and I feel like that's really the direction that I need to focus in.
Mm-hmm.
I need to keep working on the conference and doing the things every day that I'm doing for it. But for Rails clips, I need to get videos together for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to have those videos, and I'm going to put some of them on YouTube because I'm doing the free and paid every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the free ones will go on YouTube. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to back up and I'm going to do, because this is something I've been considering for a while, and I just couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to do it, because the people I'm talking to that are saying we really want something like Rails clips are saying they don't want beginner content.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because that's the listener base I have. that's where they're at with Ruby Rogues.
Right.
So, but I wanted to create that intro stuff, and so I'm going to put it on YouTube the way he's doing it. He's actually been able to find sponsorships for it and things like that, and so the plan is to do that and build people up. And then once they're comfortable at the basic levels of Rails, then they can start watching Rails clips and subscribing to Rails clips.
Right.
And
the front end.
So I get people from the beginning of their Rails career, used to my stuff, and then they can start subscribing when they're comfortable with the content in the more intermediate to advanced stuff that I'm putting up on Rails clips.
Nice.
And so that's the idea. And I'll probably wind up putting some discount codes in those videos and just say, hey, if you're coming from my basic tutorials, then you can get a free month or whatever. I don't know when you sign up. And the other thing is that that gives me, so over the next few weeks, I can then turn around and I can get. So I have 2.5 videos recorded right now. I just had things coming up. I was going to ask about that, but we're running out of time, and it's kind of a fluke thing there too. But anyway, so then I build up the that business, and so if I can get my feeling is if I can get to 10 videos by a week to 2 weeks after this weekend, after the holiday, then I'm comfortable enough to actually go and launch Rails clips, because then I have 5-6 weeks in the hopper. So then I can just go and make more. But then I can also go back and start making these tutorials, because the tutorial ones are a lot easier in the sense that it's stuff that I've done a gazillion times.
Right.
And so I don't have to go back through and say, okay, what is the stuff that I don't think about when I put this library into a Rails app? It's just, here's how you set up a Rails app. Here's how you generate a controller. And it's all simple stuff. And so I think I can get those done relatively quickly, and then I can start putting them out every week or 2 weeks and start building a subscriber base on YouTube. And then I can also see if I can, find a sponsor or two that wants to be in front of new to Ruby on Rails people.
Mm-hmm.
And mainly what I'm thinking there is like some IDE vendor or something. So it's hey, look, you sponsor it, you give me a license to your IDE, and then I will do the videos with the IDE, and I'll tell people to go download yours. Mm-hmm. And then they get those people from the outset using their tool.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So that's kind of the plan.
Very nice.
Yeah, I like it. I think that should work out well, especially if you can get the free YouTube videos getting a lot of traction and traffic. Mm-hmm. Which tutorial type of videos on YouTube seem to do pretty well. So
yeah. And he showed me all of his optimization techniques and stuff for getting up to the top. So I mean, really, it's just a matter of putting them up there and doing the right things, and then telling people to go check them out. Yep. The other thing is that I can promote them on Ruby Rogues, because he's a Ruby Rogues listener. But he's like, I'm still new, and he's like, you don't know how many new people you have listening to your show that would go and check them out. So,
I mean, I listened to the show, and I never really did Ruby.
Right.
I just liked it because you guys talk about interesting programming stuff. It's like one of the few shows where you actually talk about like software development design issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's an interesting mix. But yeah, definitely, and I appreciate you saying that, because we really do try. And that's the stuff we're interested in anyway. So, it's nice once in a while to talk about stuff in the Ruby ecosystem, because it makes people's lives easier because they know about the right tool. But yeah, most of the problems I'm solving are the same ones you're solving if you're working in other technologies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the differences come in, and when it's, hey, there's this library over here that makes solving this problem easier.
Right.
And then it's like, yeah, for me, it's this other library and this other technology. But the overarching issues are the same, and you follow a pattern or an algorithm or something to solve a problem. So it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. Well, good that you're not homeless, and
Yeah.
welcome to the EntreProgrammer. Chuck had to leave the show because he's no longer He's on the street. So I guess we can get your logo. We can get you add to the logo.
I think Chuck's worst case scenario is he has to sell his Heil.
Right.
No.
Record with his iPhone headset.
Sell the Heil and you'll live for a year. Don't worry about it.
I tell people that all the time. It's like, well, I want to go freelance, but it's so risky. I'm like, what's the risk? You don't find clients, you have to go get another job.
Yeah.
You're right back where you started.
Yep.
And yeah, the longer I've been self-employed, the less I want to do that.
Yeah.
A lot less I want to do that. But, at the same time...
I tried it again for a year and just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah. I just don't think I'm cut out to work for somebody else anymore.
Yeah.
And, nothing against people who have a full-time job. It's just, I've gotten pretty used to being able to do what I need to do and what I want to do, so...
It's not for us.
But yeah, so... worst case scenario, yeah, I have to go get a job, and I will be very unhappy, but we're not going to starve. So
right,
yeah. But plus, I mean, with the thing is, with the kind of thing that you're doing, how easy is it to get a job now? Like,
yeah, oh yeah. Well,
do you want to hire the guy who runs 4 development podcasts? Yeah, I think I do want to hire the guy that runs 4 development podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of the connections that I've made over the years makes it easy to find contracts too. So I posted to Twitter, I asked around, and I had a handful of people come out the next day.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we have work. Where are you at?
Yeah.
So I may not get my full rate if I'm subcontracting, but I'm not going to starve. So.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
All that stuff in John's course actually works.
It does. It's amazing.
I should take it.
Really?
Actually, I would love to see what's in it. So, but yeah.
But was it? There was something else I was gonna talk about. I can't remember what it was. It was. Oh, I was gonna ask if. Well, I won't even. I was gonna say something about making responsive banners because my site's now responsive, but the banner ads are not, which is very
okay.
Solution. Get rid of the banner ads.
Yeah.
So, what size are they? Are they full width?
They're the 720 by the whatever.
So if you go to I think devchat.tv, I thought I fixed it, but I can send you the CSS to make that work. But essentially, let me click on Ruby Rogue so I can actually see it.
Oh yeah, because you're doing this a lot with the banners. Oh yeah, let me pull that up on my.
So the trick is, and it gets really tiny on your desktop, but if you pull it up on your phone, then it's full size on your phone. Anyway, so the trick is that you set the width to be automatic with a min width or a max width of 720 or whatever.
Oh yeah, yep.
And then it'll shrink.
Yeah, see, I did that, but you know what I think the problem is? I'm using an ad delivery network, so it's like I don't have a placeholder or...
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have the actual ad until that time, so I can set the placeholder to be like automatic, sort of the div that it's in, but I guess I just have to play with it some. But it's frustrating, but that's what happens, I guess. Who invented div? Div is such a stupid thing.
So what does it stand for anyway? Division?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I'm sure the internet knows. Yeah, but now you have all the semantic HTML5 tags, so...
Yeah.
Tables, man. Just use a table.
So I don't know. I'm trying to think if I had anything else. The biggest thing for me is the blog, getting doing the sale, and then I'm working through my list. Once I finish getting the blog done, then I will be going through the mailing list and moving that over to Drip and working more on the funnel to get everything working nicely before I start any new projects. But yeah, the biggest thing has been trying to get this blog, which it's been hard to part with my my sidebars with the YouTube and all of that stuff. But I think that what's selling me on it is that I'll still have all that stuff, but now people will actually see it because they'll go through the navigation to get there.
Right.
Because you'll still be able to go to podcasts, you'll still be able to go to videos, but now navigation will take you there. So
yeah, I just went into derekbailey.com while we were talking, and I turned off my sidebars.
Yeah.
Because they were useless. I mean, nobody ever clicks on them. Nobody ever uses them. They were just taking up space. I mean, they were really there for my own personal, whatever enjoyment, just to know that I had them constantly sitting there showing in people's faces, but nobody was looking at them or using them anyway, so why bother?
Yep. I do have one other question that I wanted to ask you guys,
Mm-hmm.
and this is more of I'm trying to unload some mental weight. I've had a book that I've wanted to write forever, and it's starting to weigh on me that I haven't even started it. And so I'm wondering if you have any. I know that this is a topic that could take an entire episode.
Yeah.
But just any advice for sitting down and just writing it, because I might just disappear the rest of tonight and Friday, getting a good, healthy start on it.
Write a single chapter and publish it on LeanPub, and then promote the crap out of it. Get as many sales as you possibly can through that first chapter on LeanPub. That for me was the single largest motivating factor in finishing my Backbone plugins book. I had 5 chapters written, and I was delaying and delaying and delaying. I spent a year doing nothing with 5 chapters written, and I did nothing with it. And then finally one day I was like, all right, let me just put this on LeanPub and see if anybody will even pay for the 5 chapters that I've got written. And a ton of people bought it. So that right there, having people actually buy it, knowing, being very upfront, telling them, look, this is early access. You're getting it dirt cheap for $5 because it's still in progress. And then just seeing people actually paying for it was highly motivating. And, $18,000 later, I have a very successful book.
Right.
I would say sit down. I mean, you can probably guess that I'm going to tell you to schedule on your calendar.
Right.
X number. I mean, set a realistic goal of how many words you're going to write per day, or how much time. Either words or time is fine, but set the schedule. It might even be 3 days a week you're going to work on it, or maybe it's every single day. But commit to that first, and then set it as an unbreakable schedule or habit that you must complete, and then commit to it, and then there's no. I mean, this is a secret, I think, to just about every major project. Because I used to be one of those people that had a closet full of uncompleted projects.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my problem. I take things to 90%, and then I started developing this habit of okay, before I do something, I'm committing. Absolutely committing to now when I say I'm going to do something, when I was not going to eat breakfast and lunch during the whole time I was in Hawaii, it's I actually have weighed out and I've decided I'm absolutely going to commit to this thing. I don't take the commitment, any promise I make to myself, I don't take lightly anymore. So that's what I would say, is just make sure that but the secret to this is making sure that you don't overcommit, because you won't be, if you can't fulfill, it won't. So maybe it's slightly less aggressive than you like, but whatever it is, you're going to make up for it by making sure that you follow through and do it. And that's, I mean, even if you're doing 500 words a day and you did that for
or 500 words a week, whatever it is.
Yeah, you'd get there.
I think combining what John just said with my notion of publish it now would be a pretty good idea, because you could tell people, look, here's my schedule, here's when you can expect things to be done. Maybe you take the next day, like you were talking about, disappear for a night, write a couple of chapters, take the rest of the weekend to put up the most basic sales page and start promoting the crap out of it, and then set your schedule like John said, and every week 500 words, 500 words, 500 words, 500 words, and it'll take a while, but a year from now you'll look back and see that you've made $20,000 off of an ebook that you spent a couple hours a week working on.
Right.
Yeah. For me, definitely, like what I agree with everything John said. Like, I have to, for something like this, I have to have a set time. So, when I was working on my writing Sublime plugins book, it was like basically an hour every morning. I think it was like 3 Pomodoros. I did that every morning for like 6 months.
Right.
And actually, I actually wrote the first draft in like 30 days. And that's the other thing I was going to say is, for me anyway, it depends on your writing process. But typically, the more experience you get as a writer, like the more you start to rely on outlining. And that was a huge difference for me with that book. I outlined, like, the outline for that book, I did it in Markdown. I think it was like, when I converted it to HTML, I think it was like 20 pages or 30 pages. But I knew, like, every single paragraph almost what I was going to say. And so it was just a matter of, okay, well, I need to write the steps for this today. And I sat down and, you know, so it wasn't like, you know, oh my gosh, where am I going with this? That's the hardest part, is when you don't have it all mapped out ahead of time, and you're thinking about it as you go, because you're going to waste a lot of time. You know, you'll start down a path and then realize that you aren't actually headed in the direction that you intended to, and then you try to make the pieces fit, and it gets really frustrating.
Makes sense.
Also, one last tip I'll give, because we're kind of running late on time, is talk about it on like a public podcast or something.
Yeah.
I might be able to do that on 4 or 5 of them. So the other question I have then is, it sounds like you've all published in different ways.
Yep.
So, you know, I guess I'll ask on the list, and maybe we can talk about it next week, just what the pros and cons are of those.
Like tooling wise?
Yeah, so I mean,
versus a real publisher versus
Amazon versus you know, self-publishing.
Really, it really depends what your goals are.
Right.
It's all about.
Yeah, this is definitely an hour and a half discussion in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah. But that kind of has me excited, and I may go huddle in the corner with my computer and get yelled at by my wife a few times.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I guess we should call this one probably.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll have good Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Me too.
I won't be eating lunch tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've been eating lunch most of this week because I've been taking care of my son a lot, and it's hard for me not to eat lunch when I have my kids around.
Yeah.
I'm skipping breakfast all the time, which I think is still a huge improvement for me, because I've gained a little bit of weight back, but only a couple pounds, and I'm kind of even right there. So I'm doing okay, and next week I'll get back to it.
If you haven't been eating a lot and then you just start eating, you're gonna gain, like, it's just food weight.
Yeah, totally.
Not even,
Right. It's just food weight. It'll drop off next week. It won't be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing that I wanted to talk about, but I know we're low on time, and I had the other questions that were more important. But that was, you know, what do you do when your wife has to drop everything, including the kids, on you, and you need to get stuff done?
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All these fun questions.
Yep. Because that was my week this week. But anyway.
Yep.
Until next time.
All right.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Wanna start a business, but you just know how to code? Listen to the EntreProgrammers, and we'll teach you straight up to be developers.